All right, well, good afternoon and welcome everyone who is joining us right now. We are so excited to kick off session 3 of our summer series with GCP and PayPal. My name is Emily and I am joined today by Nalin from Google and Smitha from PayPal, and I am really excited to dive into our topic today. We are going to be talking about how Web 2 and Web 3 come together specifically for developers. We've got a demo for you later today, as well as a Q&A at the end of this session. And so as we have our conversation, please feel free, drop your comments into the comment section, whether you're on X or on StreamYard, and we will get to those questions later. But as we dive in, I'd love to introduce who we've got on the call today. We've got Nalin, who is a product lead from Google Cloud. So excited to have you with us. You were with us earlier in one of our sessions. And so if you weren't here for that, Nalin is the product lead for Web3 at Google Cloud and has been there for a little bit over 10 years, but has deep experience in the crypto industry. And so really excited to have you with us, Nalin. Thanks again for joining. And we've got Smitha, who I have the pleasure of working with every day. So really grateful to hear from her depth of experience. She is our product lead for crypto at PayPal and has a wealth of information in the industry as well as a deep background in tech. So big thank you to you both. Thanks for joining. Excited to kick off today. And Nalin, I'll pass to you our first question. Would love to just hear from you. What is Google's approach to Web3 and what are some use cases that really excite you?
Yeah, thanks, Emily. I'm excited to be here. That's a good question. So, in Google Cloud, we really believe that in the future, maybe 5 years from now, we don't have a strong distinction between Web 2 and Web 3 because almost every product and service that users use today will have a component that lives on the blockchain or where users have data that they either generate or purchase or leverage that's on chain to unlock value in the product or service they're using. So we think like these lines will get blurred, and we're seeing a lot of regulation being passed in the stablecoins domain, which is really exciting. And so I think payments are an obvious use case that we're excited about. The opportunity to have frictionless, fast, cheap, cross-border payments at scale is something that's super exciting. But I'll take it even further, and maybe I'll use one example of a transaction that might happen that unlocks 3 different use cases that maybe not possible today. So imagine there's Warriors are selling a T-shirt in their store at the stadium, and maybe they've designed that. They've hired a designer, a Bay Area designer, to design that T-shirt. Well, maybe if you sell that T-shirt over with stablecoins, and the transaction is governed by a smart contract, well, that local artist can get paid in real time, a rev share, in a way that you just can't do today because you don't have the transparency, you don't have a way to actually look into the transactions that are happening. You kind of have to trust that the check they're going to write me at the end of the month or whatever is the right one. Now it can be real time and auditable and traceable. So that's exciting. And maybe a customer might be excited in engaging that and supporting their community. But beyond that, the Warriors now could, as part of that same smart contract, maybe issue a token to the purchaser and give them access to this super fan community. And so now the Warriors can engage with that customer in a way they can't today, right? So maybe you have access to special online content because you're holding this token in your wallet. Or maybe you can go to some events in your community that you wouldn't be able to get to because it's exclusive only for super fans. So I think that's another aspect, this community aspect that's really interesting. And the thing that maybe I'm most excited about is something that gets, I think, lost in all of the other things we talk about in Web3 is interoperability, right? So now, if the Warriors were to issue this kind of token, and just to be clear, this isn't a real situation. We're not working with the Warriors. I hope they wind up doing something like this, but it's all hypothetical. If the Warriors do issue a token like that, like the super fan token, now maybe the local restaurant in your town on opening day wants to give a discount to those super fans. Traditionally, you'd have to have some arrangement with the Warriors. Now you could just check for the existence of that token and unlock those experiences. So these are all the kinds of things that I think Web3 offers, that are net new experiences that we just can't do today. And because you're transacting on the blockchain, you open up these new possibilities.
Awesome. Yeah, interoperability is something I'm personally really excited about, and I do hope the Warriors do something like this. Maybe they're cooking that up already. Thanks, Nalin, for that perspective. Smitha, would love to hear from you. Same question. What is PayPal's approach to Web3, and what are some of the use cases that excite you and the team?
Yeah, thanks, Emily, for having me here. And Alan, like absolutely, completely agree with like the approach that in 5 years there won't be a line, right? And the line's going to blur out, right? But from PayPal's perspective, right? Like if you think of PayPal, we are a commerce company, right? Our mission is to kind of revolutionize commerce globally. And the way we think about stablecoin and blockchain as technology is a tool for us to be able to revolutionize commerce, right? And stablecoin is a way for us to make payments better, faster, and cheaper. Essentially, when PayPal has this amazing dual-sided network, right? Like we have 400 million consumers, we have 35 million merchants, and we are global. Like we're in 200 countries, right? And there are clear problems to be solved even today, right? Even within the PayPal like ecosystem, right? Where cross-border commerce is very expensive. It takes a long time. Today, there are many countries where we have people who are unbanked. We don't even have the ability for them to hold balance, right? And we have merchants who want to access like a global consumer base, but today they can't because they have no way to accept payments. We have merchants who, Nalin, for your example, like who want to make payouts to, let's say, you have a creator out in, let's say, Argentina, and you wanted to make a payout. That was really hard, right? So there are clear use cases and pain points both on the consumer side and the merchant side, and we believe that these use cases are what will actually like fuel like the global commerce, right? And I think the time it's been incredible. I feel like the last couple of months has been this perfect storm of amazing things happening in the space. Like one is just, of course, the tech stack is really maturing. We have really clear use cases that are emerging, right? In terms of like, cross-border commerce. We know that clear pain points. The market conditions are kind of working with us. The regulatory environment is working with us, right? And so I'm super excited for where what we're building now and what the adoption is going to be in the next 5 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, great perspective, Smitha. And it's amazing to see two big brands kind of step into the space. And to your point, there's such a flywheel effect happening right now with the macro environment legislation getting passed, and so much more kind of coming down the pipeline. Blockchain's maturing. Ethereum, I know, had its 10th birthday. What was it, yesterday? And so a lot of really, really exciting things happening to expedite and continue to mature some of these use cases that are continuing to grow. And so with that, as we think specifically about developers, there may be some Web 2 developers on the line here that are watching, and probably many Web 3 developers who may already be building in the space. Would love to talk a little bit more about what it's like onboarding as maybe a Web 2 developer, maybe early Web 3 developer into this space. And Nalin, maybe I'll pass this question first again to you. What do you think differs in developer onboarding experiences in Web3, and how is Google supporting this transition?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. So, honestly, the tech stack and the entire developer journey is very different between Web 2 and Web 3. Everything from where you store your database, right? You're storing it on a public blockchain, a distributed ledger, versus a private, whatever it might be, Cloud SQL, Postgres instance. So that's different. The way the languages you're coding in, instead of like Java, JavaScript, and Python, you're using Solidity and Rust and a whole different stack. And then even the fact that, when you build a web app or any kind of app, if you want to put out a change, well, you can just, release a new version and it gets updated and it's there for everyone. And in Web3 and smart contracts, like the code is actually immutable, right? So to put out a new version of your application comes with its own challenges. So, at Google, we've been thinking about this for a while. What we're trying to do is just make it easier for Web3 developers and Web2 developers that don't have an experience with Web3 to start building. So we're offering a bunch of things, from BigQuery data sets. So what we've done is we've indexed blockchain data in BigQuery so you can access it with SQL. Traditionally, blockchain is accessed through custom RPC interfaces. So it's like a whole new standard you have to run or understand and learn, and a new way of accessing this data. And if you want to access historical data, maybe from a few years ago, it's actually pretty difficult to do that. So we've indexed everything in BigQuery so you can access things with SQL and start exploring that way. So kind of democratizing access and bringing it into a Web 2 world. So that's one thing. We've put out free RPC services, which will allow you to, like, once you do get familiar with Web3 and the interfaces that are required, you need access to a node, right? And that can be expensive. So we've offered a product called Blockchain RPC, which gives you 100 queries per second, 100 requests per second for free on the Ethereum blockchain. And that's open to everyone. You can use that today. And we'll demo a little bit of that later today. Specifically for PYUSD, we have a faucet. So if you want to do anything as a developer, writing any piece of data, deploying code, all uses currency, right? That's the way the blockchain works. You actually have to spend money. In the test environment, you still need testnet tokens, which can be actually pretty challenging to get. So we've tried to make that very easy. Just by logging in with your Google account, you can get testnet tokens every day. And you can get PYUSD both on Solana and Ethereum blockchains, which is exciting. And then we try to put out a lot of educational content, do events like this with you guys to kind of just educate the community. Because, as I mentioned earlier, we just believe this is going to be a huge part of every developer stack. So our goal is to make that journey as seamless as possible.
Amazing. So many incredible tools and abstracting that complexity away, of course. So Smitha, would love to pass it to you and hear your perspective on onboarding developers into Web3.
Yeah, and so I think Nalin really covered the Web3 developers and the Web3 native in the DeFi ecosystem, right? So probably I'll give you a different perspective on how do you integrate with PayPal products, right? So essentially, when you think about PYUSD, what we've done internally is integrated PYUSD within our existing product base, right? So if just yesterday or 2 days ago, we announced that we are launching Pay with Crypto, right? This is the ability for any merchant to have a Pay with Crypto button. PayPal does the processing in the backend. Now suddenly merchants can have the ability to access a global audience who have crypto wallets, and PayPal does all the processing in the backend, right? This Pay with Crypto button for merchants, it is part of our existing PayPal merchant integration suite, right? As part of our PayPal open integration suite. So there's nothing different that you will have to do in order for your merchant to be able to see that button, right? It's part of the same experience. So really what we've tried to do is we have already integrated experiences into merchants and consumers. So our design principle, especially internally within the PayPal ecosystem, is that how do we make it super easy, make it part of the same existing integration where you need to do nothing new, right? So for developers here who are listening, if you want to do payouts, it's part of our hyper wallet integration. If you want to do payments, it's part of our pay integration, right? And consumers and merchants already have the ability to hold PYUSD within PayPal wallets in the exact same wallet. This is not a new wallet. It is in their PayPal wallet that you do P2P with, that you check out with, right? And so our design principle is integrated experiences within PayPal and Venmo, and that's how we've gone about it here.
Amazing. So helpful, Smitha. Thanks for sharing that perspective. It's always helpful to have both sides of the aisle sharing perspective on what are we doing today, what does it look like in the future, and abstracting that complexity. And so I'd love to pivot the conversation a little bit. This wouldn't be a PayPal conversation if we didn't talk about PYUSD and stablecoins, of course. As we know, and many on the call probably are aware, stablecoins are obviously such a hot topic right now, but they're not new. And those of us who have been around for quite some time know that they're not new, but they're becoming more and more mainstream. And so I'd love to chat about what it looks like for developers to build with stablecoins and specifically with PYUSD. And so Smitha, I'd love to pass this to you first. Can you share more about where we're at with PYUSD and why developers would want to build with it?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, so absolutely. So PYUSD, essentially for everybody else, it is a stable coin that is pegged to the dollar 1 to 1, and it is 100% backed by U.S. reserves. We are regulated by like New York Department of Financial Services, and of course, like stable coins, it is open, accessible, it's transparent, and it is low cost, 24/7, right? And we are multi-chain. We are on Ethereum, Solana, Arbitrum, and we've announced that we are launching on Stellar as well. So we are going to be a multi-chain stablecoin. I think what's interesting is a couple of things, right? One is when you think about a stablecoin, distribution and on and off ramps are very important, right? And PayPal, that's why is special because PayPal now not only has a stablecoin, but it has the other two things that you need, right? Which is the global distribution, which is because PYUSD is integrated within our own PayPal experiences. Now you suddenly have access to wallets that 400 million wallets that have PYUSD. You have merchants who can actually also hold PYUSD. So it's within our experience. And essentially, the on and the off ramp, we will now provide the ability for merchants to always exchange 1 to 1 from US dollar to PYUSD. And so with that, I think it makes it special because one is the scale of PayPal merchant and consumer like base and like platforms enables us to do that kind of distribution that nobody else in the industry can do, right? And so we are very excited of what that will unlock.
Awesome. Thanks for that perspective, Smitha. Nalin, would love to hear from you, building with stablecoins from a developer's perspective.
Yeah, I think stablecoins is going to open up a lot of adoption just for the fact that, well, they're stable, right? So, I mean, if you're a crypto holder and you had it for a long time, you might be wondering why there's not more merchants online that accept crypto. Like, why can't I buy this stuff? This stuff's been around for 10 years now. How come I can't spend this everywhere? Well, it's really hard to run a business, as we all know, and it's even harder if you can't rely on the value that you're like accepting in exchange for your product or good, right? So for a business to accept Bitcoin or even Ethereum can be really challenging because you don't know what the price is going to be at any given day. How do you even price your item, right? So, and then once you say you do even figure that out, by the time you get it and need to do something with it, now the price has changed. It changes your entire economics. So just the fact that you have something that's backed by fiat and pegged to fiat, so you know the value of it and it's not going to change, opens up this capability now that you can actually transact. Now businesses are willing to say, hey, I'll take this. And now that they've done that, now once they do that, now they can do very new things that they've never been able to do before, like stream, salaries or wages to their employees, maybe, or their partners, as I mentioned before in that example, where maybe a local artist is getting a rev share off of a t-shirt sale in real time. That was never possible before. I like to say like crypto is money with an API built in, right? Because it's digital first money. And so that programmability is really limitless. We haven't even seen like scratch the surface of what's going to happen. The other thing that I think is emerging or is going to create new business models with stable coins. It's crypto in general, but I think stables give that adoption. They make it more accessible to everyone, is micropayments, right? And we're going to see a lot of different businesses that come out of that get born that weren't possible before because you have the ability to do micropayments or micro rev share. And so like various entities can add value, even if it's at a small amount, and get compensated fairly for that. So I think those two things make it really exciting. Yeah, I can't wait to see what people build.
Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like there's going to be even more that we see. So really, really awesome. Like I said, wouldn't be a PayPal conversation if we didn't touch on PYUSD and stablecoins. But at this point, we'd love to transition to the demo, Nalin, that you have prepared for everyone. And so as we do this, folks, I see some comments coming through in the comment section. Feel free to continue to ask your questions. After Nalin does this demo, we will transition to our Q&A portion. And so, Nalin, I will give you the floor.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll just give you a quick overview of the Web3 portal. I won't spend too much time on here because I think week one I covered this in pretty much detail. But like there's a few pieces we'll be using as part of the demo. So if you wanted to follow along, maybe you're watching this video at a later time and you want to follow along with this demo, you should be able to do that. So really quick, if you're wondering what Google Cloud has available for developers, you can find it here at our Web3 portal. So if you just search Web3 portal in Google, you'll get to this experience, and it really has, it's like a single window into like everything we're doing and that our partners are doing. So at the top, you can see like we have a dashboard for PYUSD. This dashboard is built with Looker, but it's leveraging our public Ethereum data set. So there's nothing stopping anybody who's watching this right now from building the same kind of experience or leveraging this data. It's all there available for you in our BigQuery data sets. The other thing we have is our RPC, right? So we'll be using that as part of our demo today. So this is like, you know, if you want to talk to the blockchain, you need access to an RPC service. We have an enterprise grade service for free, 100 QPS for free, as I mentioned, and I think 1 million requests per day. And so like this is a great way to get started with building. And then we have the faucet, which we'll also use as part of this demo. So I've tried to like mix a bunch of things here. So, you know, since today is about Web 2 plus Web 3, I thought we would do a demo on if you're a Web 2 developer with no experience in Web 3, how would you build something in Web 2, right? And I think, you know, I think everyone's trying to build with AI now. Vibe coding is becoming a big thing. I think it's going to have even a bigger impact on Web 3 just because there's so many people who don't know how to do it. But LLMs are really good at understanding how to build in this new world. So we're going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to build an application that streams PYUSD transactions in real time, right? You'll see it's pretty easy to do. So we're going to use Gemini. I'm using 2.5 Pro. And I'm going to just put in a prompt here that says, how would I build a simple web app that pulls transactions from the PYUSD smart contract from a Sepolia Ethereum RPC endpoint and display them in a real-time feed? So I tried to get the right balance of detail here so it builds an accurate app. Sepolia Ethereum is basically a test net, right? So when you're building on the blockchain, you can build on the main net, which is, you can consider it production, or you can build on a test net, which is where you test out your applications. But to build on a test net, of course, you need tokens, and so we have a faucet for that. So I'll show you how that works. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to stream all of the transactions happening with PYUSD on that testnet. And, you know, in addition to this, I'm going to say, let's use this RPC URL. And if we go into Google Cloud Console here, you can type in blockchain RPC and you'll get this product, and you'll see a list of URLs you can use. So I'm going to click on the Ethereum Sepolia URL, and I'm going to use WebSockets. So there's two kinds of endpoints. There's a JSON RPC endpoint, which is more for like requesting. You know, you like request some data and you get it back. And WebSockets are really for subscribing to data that's happening in real time. So we're going to use that. I'm going to just pick the US Central endpoint, and I'm going to paste it in here. And we'll see what Gemini does and comes up with. I'm using the Canvas feature here. So if you're following along, make sure you click on that. And it's starting to build, you know, this entire application. So we'll see how it does. I'm feeling brave here and like trying to do vibe coding live. I do have this already up in another tab if this does fail, but I think it'll work pretty well. So we'll just wait for this to finish. And now you'll see it has a preview of it. So there's an error. Let's see if we can figure that out really quickly. Otherwise, I'll fall back to something else. So I think it didn't pull the right PYUSD smart contract. So let me just get that. And I believe this is the right one. So we'll start with that. And then I think this endpoint is the right one. So let's see if this works. If not, I'll go to a different screen here and we'll try that. So we'll hit show console. So it looks like it didn't pull the right library. So what I'm going to do to save time is I'm going to go to this view where you can see I asked basically the same thing, and it in one shot was able to figure it out. There weren't any follow-up prompts. And you can see in the code, it basically has the same URL and the same smart contract address, but you'll see that we have a whole, and I'll refresh just to start with a fresh slate here. But we'll have like, it's connected and it's listening for transactions. Now what I'll do is I'll go to the portal and the faucet and I'll drip some PYUSD on Sepolia to my wallet, and should work. So it says the testnet tokens are on the way, and it gives me this transaction hash ending in 59E5. And if we click on that, it'll go to the Explorer and show you the status of it. So this is still pending, but since we're on a testnet, settlement's very quick, and this will settle in just a few seconds here. And once it does, it will show up in our experience here. I think it already showed up, right? So 59E5 was the transaction hash. It's the same one. So it's doing this. And what's cool about this is it's just going to listen for all transactions. I just happen to do the latest transaction. If other people, like if you're watching right now and you drip with the faucet, those transactions will start showing up here. So this is like listening in real time to the Ethereum blockchain, the testnet Sepolia, and listening for only transactions that are PYUSD and displaying them here. So, you know, we had a little bit of a hiccup, so you have to do a little bit of experimentation. As we know, AI is non-deterministic, but you can get started very quickly without like knowing what RPC is really or how you use it, without knowing like too much about PYUSD. You can start looking at the transactions, and you can see if somebody else did submit a transaction here and it just showed up, which is pretty cool. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of how you could use like Gemini and you know, the RPC service that we've provided in Google Cloud to build on PYUSD without a lot of prior knowledge. And we're trying to extend this like AI ready infrastructure in Web3 to a lot of different parts of what we offer. So you know, we're thinking a lot about how do we provide an MCP server over BigQuery data sets so you can start querying the data with just natural language. How do we provide an MCP server just on the RPC itself so you can start querying various transactions and wallet balances, again, with natural language. So we'll continue to lean in that way. We think most people are going to start building applications with AI in the future. And we want to lead the way for building with AI and on top of Web3 and blockchain dApps and distributed applications.
Awesome. Great demo, Nalin. And hey, when things don't go as planned, that's the point of a live demo, isn't it? It'd be a shame if it went smoothly and as planned. That's great. Hopefully everyone watching got something out of that. I know I did, so that was really, really valuable. Thanks for showing us how all of that works. All right, so let's go ahead and transition to our Q&A section. I know that we've got some questions here, but if any of you have questions, please feel free, add them to the comments, and we'll be sure to try to get to those. But our first question, thanks Jed for being the one to kick it off, asking about a tech stack, needing to access Web3 with a wallet. And so how is PayPal as well as Google thinking about a wallet as part of the product experience? I don't know, Nalin or Smitha, whoever wants to take that first.
I can take that. So PayPal today has a custodial wallet, right? So we are live in the US, UK, and Luxembourg. But of course, as part of our PYUSD expansion, we are aggressively looking at how we can expand in all over the world. But essentially, for us, if you take a step back and look at the user base at PayPal, right? Our users are predominantly like the what you'd call like the crypto curious, right? Which is people who have heard about crypto, who have heard about stable coins, want to understand and have a safe place to experiment and learn about like stablecoin and crypto, right? So if you look at the PayPal experience, like it is fully optimized for that journey. And so today, the way non-custodial wallets are, it is a daunting experience. Like I know a lot of cool updates have come in with account abstraction, but it just the custodial experience that we have is very seamless and integrated into the everyday PayPal app, right? And so for our perspective, we are pretty much looking at like custodial wallets, and looking at integrating that into our ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the, from my view, one of the great things about blockchain is everything is an open standard. There's a lot of interoperability because PYUSD lives on Ethereum and Solana. You can use any Ethereum and Solana wallet to start transacting with it. We don't offer in Google Cloud a productized wallet service, at least not today. But we do have partners that do offer that, like Fireblocks offers an enterprise-grade wallet for big institutions, and we have other partners. You can see those at on the portal that offer like wallet services. So if you're a developer and you just want to assign a wallet to one of your users, you can do that. I can only speak for Google Cloud because that's what I'm in. But I think there is an opportunity here to make this wallet experience a lot easier for developers. My dream is one day this will be just integrated into your operating system or, browser. So there won't be like something you have to install even. You just get like this capability by default.
That's great, Nalin. I think many of us share that same dream. So of that perspective. Great. Let's move on to the next question. Smitha, I think this is a perfect question for you. Can you talk a little bit more about this one? Can PYUSD pay interest?
Oh, no. No, absolutely not, right? I think I think the question also is like, Genius Act prohibits stablecoin issuers. So it's actually the issuers of stablecoins cannot pay interest, right? But just to be very clear, right? Like we do not pay interest for PYUSD to our users. What we do is we have, if you look at PayPal holistically, we have a very extensive like loyalty and rewards program. We have looked at how to integrate PYUSD into our existing loyalty program and existing rewards programs, and that's what we're doing, right? Like, and we definitely do not pay interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thanks, Smitha, for clarifying that. Shira, I'll take this question for PayPal. Do you plan on having any activations at DevConnect? Stay tuned. More details to follow. Nalin, I don't know about your team. Are you guys doing any activations at DevConnect?
I'm actually not sure about that, but we can follow up on socials and kind of post what we're doing. Actually, on our portal, we often list all the events that we're participating in. So if you click on the events tab, you can see what we're doing. So I think if we do something material there, it'll show up there for sure.
Awesome. All right. So sounds like a big stay tuned from both Google Cloud and PayPal for DevConnect, but great question, Shira. Another question we've got is from Adrian. What solutions do you recommend to bridge PYUSD across networks?
Yeah, I mean, I think PYUSD is just another asset, right? So from my perspective, anything that bridges either Ethereum or Solana to another network can be used. So, Layer 0 is a big partner of ours. We love them. They're a great bridge solution. So you can use Layer 0, but you can really use any bridge that bridges Ethereum and Solana to another network.
Awesome.
I think like it would wrap PYUSD. So I'm not sure exactly which which networks we have wrapped PYUSD on. But given that that exists, you could use any of the bridging solutions like Layer 0.
Great. All right, it looks like that's most of the comments in this chat. I think as we wrap up, Nalin or Smitha, any final pieces of advice for builders who are stepping into Web3, maybe coming from Web2, or maybe even those building at the intersection of AI and crypto? Any final thoughts that you want to leave this group with?
I'll start. I would just say start today. Like if you're curious, don't wait. I know, like for me personally, my journey, I didn't start building on mobile, like iOS, Android, until like 2010, like 3 years after smartphones really became popular, and I felt like I was behind the times. And then when I learned about smart contracts and blockchain, I jumped in right away and started building smart contracts. And I'll still remember like this first tutorial I followed, and I built like a little voting application, and just this like realization that this application I built lives on the chain, and literally everyone in the world has access to it right now. I didn't have to write an API. I didn't have to deploy it anywhere else. Like it was accessible to everyone. That was like a really profound moment and got like my interest in blockchain really going. But if you're interested, I would say like it's never been easier to build, right? Like Smitha mentioned, the tech stack is getting more mature. We have big players like PayPal and Google like leaning in and trying to make this easier. And then we have LLMs and AI that's making all building easier. So if you're curious, you should get started now. And I really sincerely do believe, I know I mentioned this a couple of times, that this is going to be a big part of almost every product and service going forward.
I'll add that the one thing is still with like Web3 dApps, it's still not super user friendly, right? I mean, it is not designed for the everyday user, and so one thing that I'd love to see is like more of these being very simple, get the ability for any user to be able to not know the tech behind what is there, but actually to be use the product, right? And I think like today we still have to understand how the tech works if in order for you to use the product, right? And that's what we try to do at PayPal, which is that abstract the complexity for your user and let them do what they want to do, not have to understand the product deeply. And so one recommendation or like advice I would have is like make it simple for the user, and that's where the adoption is going to come. The second thing is also just from a PayPal perspective, right? We're always compliance and regulatory compliance first, right? And so for us, it is always about, are we building it the right way? Are we doing it right by our users? And so the other thing is also we never cut corners, and so that's why I would also love to see like Web3 dApps being built in that way, right? Being compliant. So I think those are the two things which will take it from what it is today to like mass adoption.
Great. Yeah, great wisdom from you both. Thank you so much for your insights. And so with that, we can wrap for the day. Big thank you to everyone who has joined live streaming across platforms. This is not the last session of the summer. We have one more for our summer series, which will be happening on August 12th at the same time, so 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. PST. And so stay tuned. Join us for that final session 4. And big thank you to Nalin and Smitha for joining us today. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Smitha.
Thanks.